Welcome back to our brief hiatus. We are the Chocobros. This is Chocobo Chasers. I am G, and as always, I am joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. How are you guys doing today?
Long time no see.
I know.
Feeling good.
It is good. A break is always nice, but it is always nice to get back to what we love. And be sure to like, share, subscribe wherever you're going ahead and getting this podcast, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, and any other podcast platform. So we're going to go ahead and kick off our episode here with What Are You Playing? There's obviously been a pretty good bit of news going on over the last 2 weeks, and we have some impressions from some games that we started playing. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off because I'm the only one who's played this game. But I'll start off first with, again, what are you playing? For the last 2 weeks, I have played a shit ton of Deadlock. Actually having a lot of fun. My Dota buddies getting me back into the swing of MOBA things. I am not terrible, so that's good. And I'm having a lot of fun. The characters are very memorable, unlike another game that we'll be talking about a little bit later today. In addition, I started Alone in the Dark, the remake, or reimagining, I guess is a better way to put it, of the THQ Nordic horror game. It's starring Jodie Comer and David Harbour from Stranger Things. It's pretty good. I'm actually kind of surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. There's a ton of puzzles, and that is like one of my favorite parts of the Resident Evil games, and this is that third-person over-the-shoulder view, just like the Resident Evil remakes. It is a little janky at times, like the movement and everything isn't amazing. It definitely doesn't have the polish those games do. But I will say that overall it's a pretty good time. Played some college football, talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to dive too much into it here. Played a little bit more of Black Myth Wukong. I'm on a boss right now that is so hard. And that leads us into the crown jewel, which I wanted to talk about so much. I tweeted about it, so if you follow me, you've seen me talk about it. That is Astro Bot. I don't want to just call this game a platformer because I feel like that's almost a disservice. Because platformer almost pigeonholes the game into being very specific. If you've played Astro's Playroom, this is just the widest expansion on that imaginable. Astro Bot is the best PlayStation 5 game, period. It is a perfect game. I say this as someone who absolutely loved Demon's Souls, someone who absolutely loved God of War Ragnarok. It is perfect. The bots from all of these games that are being brought into the game just from all these PlayStation Legacy franchises, some that I had no idea that they would be introduced, and some that I was very surprised were missing. I'll do one quick shout out on Legacy of Kain getting introduced. Maybe that's a little, teaser for what's potentially to come next. But we've got a Raziel and Kain Astro Bot, and it is awesome. I don't want to spoil anything, and it's not that there's this huge big story or anything, but it is. The challenge levels are very difficult, but fair. But they're very, very difficult. I was just smiling the entire time. The powers, the abilities, everything is just. I really can't say enough great things about it, and as of right now, I think it beats FF7 Rebirth for my game of the year. But we'll have to see. I'm going to replay Rebirth a little bit later down the line so that I can get a better feel and make sure that that's my case. But that's where I'm sitting. So, Eric, I'm going to pass it on to you, man. What have you been playing these last 2 weeks?
So, I have played a good bit of Valorant. Can't lie to y'all. That's my guilty pleasure. Game with the boys, Friday nights. That's what we do.
Hell yeah.
It's more of the same, It's just like it's a comp shooter. It can get a little toxic. It's fun. Sometimes I'm the one being toxic. Who knows? We don't know what we're gonna get. And I've actually gone back because the DLC comes out Monday. Shattered Space. I've been playing a lot of Starfield, man, and I've been having a lot of fun. Like I said, they put out the Rev 8 Dune buggy. I played with it a little bit. I've actually gotten some more time to drive around with that thing. it's like Grand Theft Auto out there. If I get into a fight, I'll run everybody over. It's got a huge cannon on top of it, so it's pretty awesome. But a lot of what I've been doing is just shipbuilding, just playing with different mod sets. And I'm going to give a couple shout outs to some of my favorite mods from the game. We have Avon Tech Shipyards by user Chaos. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Nyrb, NYRB. So I don't know if that's like New York running back or who knows.
Just Nyrb.
Nyrb. The Nomad spacesuit creator Zone 79. He's got they have tons of different outfits you can do, replacers for different spacesuits and things like that. But this kind of looks like a still suit from Dune. And that's one thing I kind of feel with Starfield is some of the spacesuits didn't look that cool, like very NASA inspired, kind of bulky. I didn't feel the drip. And with Zone 79, it's drip or drown, baby. You can customize to your heart's delight. There's Dark Star Manufacturing. There's even mods that I don't have that they're big in the community. Tank Girl's another one. She makes some great ones. Just wanted to give those people a shout out because they put a ton of hard work in. Look, as we know, Bethesda games, when the creation kit comes out, people just spend tons of their personal time, and those are mods that I've played and I've enjoyed. So I feel those people deserve shout outs for all of our 30 listeners.
Hell yeah!
And that's really all That's all I've been playing. Oh, I'm sorry, Space Marine 2.
How could you forget?
Shout out to my boys for my 33rd birthday. These guys got me Space Marine 2. They saw my wish list, so they hooked me up. I've played I haven't played it as much because I have been playing Starfield to get ready for the DLC, but I've played the prologue and the first act. And this game's fucking awesome. This game, it's like having OG Gears of War mixed with like Doom, and it's just like it's what Halo should have been. This is the effort Saber put into this game is the effort we deserve in Halo. Xbox needs this. That's what Saber's here, man. Warhammer.
Saber's been killing it lately, honestly.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. It's so fun. That's like the level design, even Dash played it. The backgrounds of every level are just immaculately detailed and crafted.
Oh, a lot of those swarms in the background, those are 3D rendered. They're not just 2D, icons moving in the background. They're fully rendered 3D models.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game. Like some people were saying, "Oh, it looks like a 360 game." Fuck you. It looks great.
360 era had some of the best single player campaigns out there.
Gears of War. Shout out. Halo 3. Incredible. Lost Planet was awesome. But anyway.
Yep.
It's just the combat's nice. It's brutal. You're beating the fuck out of aliens. I know apparently there's chaos in it. I haven't gotten that part yet. Haven't done the strike team missions. Is it strike team missions, Dash, or is it just
the operations?
Operations, okay. I haven't done those yet. I hear those are hard and a lot of fun.
Yep.
But so far, just smashing Tyranids is awesome. And thank you guys. Appreciate the birthday.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely, happy birthday, buddy.
All right, I guess I'm up. So let's see. I've probably got a lot on my list just from the past 2 weeks. So I am going to apologize for the amount of time this is probably going to be. I'm not going to spend too much time on a lot of these games, so let's just kind of go through it quickly. Risk of Rain 2.
I'll be back.
Yeah, Risk of Rain 2. I went through, got all the additional skins that I haven't unlocked yet. So we are, I think I put about probably 70-ish hours from what I got from the DLC. Not bad. And I might go back and play more eventually, but I've unlocked everything I can at this point, so I can say I can move on to bigger, better things for the time being. But thank you, Gearbox, for finally fixing a lot of those bugs. They did put out a patch for not short after the DLC launched, and it fixed a lot of the game-breaking ones, so props to them. Let's see. Final Fantasy X. I finally did all my Blitzball grinding, By the end of it, it just gets it actually starts getting difficult because everybody's leveling up on the other teams too really at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then when my front three are the ones that are only ones leveling up, and then somebody actually slips through them, Like my keeper and the defenders can't do much because their stats just aren't high enough to keep up.
They're looking like the 2015 Saints secondary back there.
Let's not talk about Saints defense right now.
Defense played his ass off yesterday.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, yeah, they did their job for most of the game. And, it's more just if we
It
put
was a
more
team
points.
effort.
Yeah, it's just like,
It was a lack
of course, the one drive that mattered the most is not the drive that happened. But, yeah. Anyways, so now I'm doing the fun part of, like, a bunch of the other side quests. So, getting all the airship locations, grinding out all the monster capturing. I think I pretty much have grinded through all the zones up to the Thunder Plains.
Okay.
I think I should have already Makalania and Calmlands done, and we'll worry about the later areas later, but that should help me move on. Got like a lot of the celestial weapon pieces that I can at this point. So that's just going to be working out that side content. Thank God for the remastered version having the turbo mode where you can put in 4 times speed, because that just helped with the farming.
Yeah, it does quite a bit.
Did a lot more Against the Storm, so I actually saw that they are coming out with a DLC for it here soon. So it's going to add a whole new race, the frogs or toads or whatever. So in addition to what you already have with the humans, beavers, lizard folk, harpies, and foxes. So a 6th race is going to be added with a whole bunch of new types of orders. Still can't get, like, I can do a few levels on the veteran difficulty, but I can't get to the point where I can actually complete the 3rd seal yet. So it's a hard game. I really enjoy it, though. It's like one of those time killers while maybe I'll have Red Zone on and I'll just be playing in the background. So something I can divide my attention with. Played a little bit of the Quidditch, since that's free to play for PlayStation Plus members. Didn't play like actual matches besides what was in the tutorial, so I ran through all 4 of the different roles that you can play. I didn't realize that you would actually be managing every person on the team during this too. So it's like,
when you play matches like online with people, you only control 2.
okay,
So it makes it a lot easier. So you're
I
either
was saying,
like a chaser and keeper, or maybe you're chaser and seeker, or a chaser and a beater.
yeah, there's like a lot of jumping back and forth. It's like, oh, I gotta change to the chaser, gotta change to the seeker, gotta change to the keeper kind of shit. So I do like that they balance Quidditch, because the whole idea of the snitch being 150
And
points,
end all be all.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the most unbalanced it's like, oh yeah, somebody could score 140 points, but as long as that, like, so the other team gets the snitch, it's over.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that makes sense, because it was a stupid rule in terms of the overall Quidditch universe, and it would suck if you were playing a game like that.
Yeah, but I think it was also a lot harder to catch it in like the story than
Yeah.
in the game.
It wasn't meant to, like, I think the matches went on until it was caught, right? So it was just like
Either that, or there was like a points threshold, and I think there were matches where it wasn't even caught. So
it's been a long. I'm not sure how much they explain, and it's been years since I've read the books.
I'm sure somebody's created like a whole Quidditch tutorial.
Check the wiki page.
Yeah, check the handbook. Go outside, nerds.
Anyways, on to what else do I got? Did a little bit of Darkest Dungeon, so I was just in the mood to play something like that. Darkest Dungeon is just extremely frustrating, extremely hard game.
It's just medieval Tarkov, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you go into a dungeon, lose your best hero, and then you just rage quit. That's kind of how it goes for me. So I'll play until that happens.
Sounds like Tarkov. Haven't played it in months. It's been great.
The itch will come back, though.
I need to get into Tarkov, but then it sounds...
I uninstalled it to keep me from playing it.
But then also, like, I was kind of interested in that one you were posting. Well, not you, but someone was posting in the Discord, like
the single player version,
the Long Winter or whatever it was called.
Yeah. Our boy River Croc posted that. I'm down to check that out, because
it looks very interesting. I'm not sure if there's much of a PvP aspect to it. It looks like
it's more like PvE and.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to be this powerhouse. You're just like a scavenger in this giant war land. So it's like the goal is just to survive, not
Yeah.
fight.
We've
I
been
don't-
looking for things to play because a couple of the guys are getting too tilted with Valorant. So, um,
And let's see. And then finally cap things off. Couple different Warhammer games. So one Warhammer game I played was Gladius, Relics of War, which, if you've never heard of it, this is Warhammer 40k, but think civilizations. So you move your units around on the grid, you have your city you'll use to produce units, take your turns, and it plays exactly like Civilizations, but like with a Warhammer twist to it. And there's a lot of DLC that add a lot of the races that weren't in the base game when it launched. So I think the base game was just Space Marines, Necrons, the Imperial Guard, and Orcs, I want to say. And then or no, maybe it was Tyranids. One was DLC, the other is I think they added like Tau and all the other races eventually. So played a little bit of that just to kill time. I was in the Warhammer mood, especially with Space Marine 2 coming out. And before I get into Space Marine 2, I spent some time playing Total War Warhammer.
fuck yeah.
So I started a campaign with the Empire, with good old Karl France. So I was just running through doing some of that. It's a really well-made game, and honestly got my head spinning because we could honestly do a segment probably every week about Dash's game ideas, because I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, I really want a Warhammer 40k Total War game, but I'm not going to say let's make it like during
might get that wish. I think they talked about that.
They've been talking about it, but I'm not going to say let's do during the 40k era. I'm going to say they should do a Warhammer Total War game set during the Horus Heresy. And then you have all the different Space Marine chapters. You'll have their Primarchs. It's like, when I played Space Marine 2, it's like, I really want to see a Primarch in action in the video game, because you really don't get that in Warhammer. So Horus Heresy, you have all the Primarchs out there. You have all the Space Marine chapters. Each one of them is very unique from the other, so they would work very well as their own factions. And I feel like you could do it kind of like what Eric does with Crusader Kings 3 with the Game of Thrones mod, where you could just like maybe change the course of history, where it's like, what if Horus didn't even betray the Emperor, and it was some other Primarch like Sanguinus? It'd be a really cool concept where just like Space Marine chapters that didn't turn traitor did in this game. But obviously you'd be limited to only having Space Marines, but with each chapter being unique from one another, there would be still some variety in what they can do from one another, because you have like the Iron Hands that are more about sieges, I think, and the Imperial Fist is about defense. You have Raven Guard that's more about stealth tactics. So there's a lot that you could do with it, honestly. But that's just one of Dash's ideas for games. And then finally, we got Space Marine 2. So this is the big one. This is the one I've been anticipating for quite some time since it was announced. Saber, like Eric said, Saber really knocked it out of the park. And I feel like they definitely reused some code for this, because I believe they did the World War Z games, and you can definitely see it in parts of this game where Tyranids will just be piling up on top of each other to climb over walls.
That's exactly. It reminded me of the movie.
Yep.
I never played the game yet. I heard it's pretty fun.
Yep. And I think it was made by Saber, so a lot of the same
Yeah, it
concept. You will have hundreds of Tyranids coming at you. And so you're not just fighting like small little waves of enemies. They're coming at you. There's some amazing levels where you'll just have like a company of Imperial Guard defending with you, and they'll hold their own in the fight for a bit, but once they get swarmed, they're out. So I kind of like to make it my little thing to try and keep them alive as much as possible, just for the sake of it. But I've gone through the whole campaign. This is a very challenging, fun game. If you miss a dodge or a parry, you get punished, even on normal difficulty. It's ridiculous. It has kind of like the Bloodborne type system, where if you're not on offense, you're not recovering your health and getting it back. And they made it harder, because in Space Marine 1, you could just go to fodder enemies and just do like an automatic glory kill and get some health back. You don't get that here, so you're just constantly trying to manage your armor and your health up while you're in the middle of these big battles. After I did that, I ran through all the operations, which are the co-op missions. So it's recommended to play through the campaign first, or at least a portion of the campaign that the operation is set for, because it'll be like during the campaign, you'll command like a squad of Space Marines to go and do a certain objective, and that comes into play during the campaign also. So you'll have dialogue going back and forth from the operation and the campaign. So it's cool to see that new perspective. And also there's certain enemies that you get to fight in those operations that you don't get to fight in the main campaign. There's also kind of like, I want to say like maybe raid mechanics, let's say, because there's certain puzzles that you might have to solve as you're doing these missions. Like there's one where it'll show like symbols on a wall, and then there'll be all these computers in the room, and you have to match the symbols that are lit up on the computers, or you can't do damage to the boss in this instance. And if you're with a group of people that suck and don't know how to run these mechanics, it can be very tedious and annoying. That's my probably one gripe when it comes to the co-op part, is that you're reliant on who you play with. And the bots can hold their own pretty well, but they're not going to be playing the objective in some cases where you have to defend something.
Yeah.
But also, you can't proceed further into the level if there's like a spot where you have to like hit a console until everybody comes to that point. And I've had moments where there's just somebody hanging back fighting enemies, and sometimes I think the enemies can just keep spawning, honestly. So some people are just see enemies and want to fight, but it's just like, come on, just move forward so we can get out here. But I do like, there's only the 6 operations, and they are kind of lengthy, like maybe 15-20 minutes to run through them in some cases. But they do like change like the placement of items and enemies, so it's not always consistent. And I think this is going to be the bread and butter of the live service part of this game, as it is on the roadmap, because they will be adding more operations. They say that they're going to add new enemies. Now, whether that means like different types of Tyranids or Chaos Marines, or if we're going to get like factions like the Orc or the Eldar to fight against,
Eldar,
who knows? I think they said Season 4 is going to have a Horde mode also, so we'll see how in-depth that Horde mode gets. Finally, there's the multiplayer mode. So multiplayer mode's just your standard 6v6. You have 3 different game modes. Like Domination, where you have 3 points to control. That one's like the hardest because it needs the most team coordination. If you have a bad team, you're in for a bad time. There's the hard point one, where there's one hill. Whoever controls it the longest and then moves on to the next one wins. And then your standard team deathmatch. So there's not much depth to the multiplayer. It's just kind of like, like a throwback to the 360 era games. You just jump in, have fun, level up a little bit, unlock some more weapons, because some of the weapons that you level up just by unlocking your overall level is probably better than what you start off with for some classes. So there's 6 classes, right? So each class has their different loadouts and abilities that they can use. So like the Bulwark has a melee weapon and a shield, but you won't get a primary ranged weapon because of it. And he also has more armor. Same for the operations. There's the same 6 classes, and they both have their separate progression systems. And honestly, customizing your Space Marine is probably one of the coolest part about this game. There's a lot of stuff to unlock. There's a lot of it's held behind this like heraldity thing that you can unlock different armor, decals, and pieces and colors using like the in-game currency that you earn from playing the missions. So you can't customize the Chaos Marines, and I think Saber said that because like, each Chaos Marine chapter has additional aesthetics that make them unique from one another. So you can't just like throw this aesthetic onto this Space Marine, or there be clipping issues and stuff like that. So yeah, it just kind of is what it is for the Chaos Space Marine part. But the main Space Marines are definitely awesome. And I probably took up a lot of time just covering all my games I played. So that's it for me.
No, that was that was probably our lengthiest "What are you playing yet?" But it has been 2 weeks, so I think.
Yeah, but say, give me 2 weeks and I play a lot of different things, which is crazy because there were some days where I wasn't even playing stuff because I had my mom visit. So it's like, okay.
So during the last 2 weeks, PlayStation's been on like a bit of a roller coaster over the last few weeks. There's been, Astro Bot, and then we found out about the PlayStation 5 Pro. And what a big fucking waste of money. Like, so let me say this. The PlayStation 5 Pro is being launched at a $700 price point. That does not include a disc drive. That does not include a stand. Like,
Wait, there's no stand with it?
There's no stand. This whole thing is just fucking wild. So
I think the disc drive is sold out now too. So like people are buying it in anticipation for the PS5 Pro.
I think you also have scalpers who are realizing that people are going to need it, and then they're just going to secondhand it. But so in addition to that, we got word and visuals of the PlayStation 30th Anniversary Collection, which people were just shitting on the PS5 Pro, and deservedly so, because one, what games are there to optimize? There's like 10 so far that you can optimize with the PlayStation 5 Pro. And two, who has a TV, like from just a realistic consumer, who has a TV that can take advantage of a PlayStation 5 Pro? That is using a PlayStation 5 regularly right now. Honestly, the list is minute. So, but that 30th Anniversary Collection, all of it, looks just splendid. The DualSense Edge, the DualSense, the PlayStation Portal, PlayStation 5 Pro, and the PlayStation 5 Slim. It all looks so good. I will 100% pick up that 30th Anniversary controller. It's the one I've wanted this entire time. The classic colorway goes so hard. But PlayStation 5 Pro is a big miss from PlayStation. What has been a really bag fumbly just period for PlayStation. Like they're not on good ground right now, which is kind of weird considering the way the PS4 era ended. Real quick before we go ahead and we get to our next topic, wanted to give a shout out. We lost a legend, and this isn't necessarily in the gaming space. This is in pop culture. James Earl Jones. Obviously, Star Wars is a staple for every science fiction fan in the world. But it wasn't just that. Sandlot, Star Wars, Mufasa from The Lion King, and he even reprised that role for when they did it's not live action, but the up-to-date CGI version of The Lion King. Just wanted to give a shout out to the King, because probably the most iconic voice in history, really. I mean, and we are going to be less of a society without him. So
I'm amazed he didn't do more games, honestly.
I think he was a little selective about his projects, especially at the end.
He was in Command and Conquer. But, as a live action.
So was Tim Curry.
Yeah, I was saying, that was live action actors and all that stuff. So, yeah.
I wonder if they just gave them the bag, for those roles. That is...
I really am wondering what the compensation was to do these roles.
It's wild. But
I feel like they're fun, too.
Yeah, they had a good time. You can definitely tell. So, more grievous news. Annapurna, who... If you haven't played Annapurna games, it's I would almost kind of liken them to the A24 of video games. An indie-based studio or an indie-based developer who was starting to kind of flesh out their game production. Every single person who worked there walked out. And as we start to get more and more information coming out, Jason Schreier has kind of been reporting on it. You've seen some of these other outlets report on it. the heads of the studio walked out about 3 weeks prior to this happening. And then we find out that it's really based on the direction of the studio. It sounds like the heads of the studio, the new heads, wanted them to move into larger scale games. And really, that's not what made Annapurna Annapurna. Like, I was so stoked because they were working on a Blade Runner game. I have no idea if that's even going to happen now. It just, we're seeing the consequences of dumb, and I should rephrase this because dumb is an operative word. Dumb in the sense of you don't understand gaming. Their business heads and their financial heads. It doesn't meet when you go ahead and try to force a company to do something that they don't want to do. It's not going to happen. It's just like, it's wild to me. I hope that there is some kind of reconciliation. I hope things there is some way for them to go ahead and move forward with this, because what they were working on obviously had me excited, but the games that they had worked on previously as well, I like I said, indie games are a huge part of what goes on today, and they are kind of the best at it. So just unfortunate. Apparently today is just bad news in terms of what we've been getting. This isn't necessarily bad news, but it's news.
It's kind of crazy because in an industry where it's been crazy with layoffs, here are people that it was so bad they chose to leave.
Walked out. Yeah.
So that had to have been bad, whatever they were asked to do.
So as we apparently just continue shitting on PlayStation today, Horizon Zero Dawn, which is one of my favorite PS4 games, it's also available on PC, is apparently getting a remaster. This isn't news. This has been kind of a pretty much open, pretty much an open secret for the last, I'd say, year at least. Well, the rumor is we're going to get it shown this week at the PlayStation State of Play. What wasn't known is that apparently Days Gone is also getting a remaster when it's one of the only PlayStation 4 games that runs at 60 frames per second, like, pretty seamlessly.
And neither of these games look bad.
No, Horizon specifically is still one of the best looking games, like, ever. And Forbidden West absolutely obviously looks better, and it was made and optimized for the PlayStation 5, although I guess it was a cross-platform game, which I still don't know. I cannot understand anybody who turns on a PlayStation 4 and puts Forbidden West in, because that thing would explode. But apparently we're getting a remaster of those games. The Days Gone director has really been incredibly vocal about his disdain for Sony, disdain for anything that, like, anybody has anything to say about Days Gone, really, at this point. So I'm sure he's going to be perfectly reasonable about this entire thing. Because
I was laughing with this whole Astro Bot thing.
Yeah, like, stop being a fucking baby.
He was a little bitch.
So let's end the show on a fun note. We're talking PlayStation State of Play. They've said 30 minutes of games are going to be shown. We're going to get 20 games. So we've got PlayStation VR. They said that specifically, which I am kind of surprised that Sony is still pushing this VR, like, wave. But they obviously have invested money in there, so they do want to at least get the projects they have in the pipeline out. And then also PlayStation 5 games. So, Eric, I'm not going to allow you to say Ghost 2 because we're all hoping for that. What are we hoping is going to show up?
Say then.
What are we thinking? What are we thinking is going to show up as State of Play tomorrow?
Wolverine, maybe?
Would be a good one, and honestly, not a bad guess. Maybe
we've already seen some of it, so I mean,
yeah.
Alpha footage wasn't that, or I guess that's pre-alpha.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a playable build. Do we potentially get Spider-Man 2 DLC? Like, are we getting Carnage?
Yeah, I would say we see that before Wolverine, honestly.
Okay. What else are we thinking?
I'm going to say Death Stranding 2, like I usually do. So.
I mean, I think so I'm going to say that's going to show up at Tokyo Game Show, which is coming later this week.
Yep.
Capcom has had a great relationship with Sony, and the last few Resident Evil games have all been revealed at a Sony event. I'm going to say that we are going to get a Resident Evil 0 remake reveal at State of Play. If Dino Crisis goes, I will lose my fucking mind. But let's be a little realistic here. So, one other one that I'm going to throw out there, we know this exists because there was that weird thing at Comic-Con that showed it. Give us Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered. I don't know if that's a remaster, if it's a remake, like what it is. But I think it's farther along than people think, and maybe we finally get to see it. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. I think it's going to be a multi-platform game, and for a game like that where you need it to do well so they can keep making more of them, please, God, don't let it be single platform. I need this to succeed. I need this to be a good game.
Sony needs it to succeed.
Any other guesses or any just wishes that we're going to see?
Legacy of Kain remaster. Fuck it. Maybe they've already got it done.
Yeah.
It's already done. That's my hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean,
Marathon, they're not even close with, huh?
We've heard nothing about Marathon since that initial reveal years ago.
So Marathon is supposedly also going to be shown at Tokyo Game Show this week.
Oh.
So with everything going on at Sony and the backlash and
they need a win.
Shitstorm that's happened with live service games over the last 3 or 4 months. I would be surprised if Marathon is this huge budget thing at this point, but we could be surprised. I mean, Helldivers 2 came out of nowhere. It's not to say that
it's back on the rise too after the latest patch that fixed all the balancing issues that people were complaining about.
Well, because they've just been like nerfing and buffing the wrong things, and it's been mostly nerfing. But they had a great game, and then they just tried to fix it when it wasn't broken. So
nobody wants to play a game that's hard and unfair. They want it to be hard, but still want to be able to have a power fantasy and.
Exactly. So, no, I think those are some great guesses. Obviously, we'll wait to go ahead and see. One last thing that we'll talk about, and we won't talk about this so much because really, what's up? It is my dog.
Okay.
What's the dog doing?
So apparently, there's a rumor going around. We're not going to dive into this so much because it is a rumor. Concord apparently had a $400 million budget. Dash, I know you kind of alluded. This is the kind of pre-budget that so before Sony took over, combined with the Sony budget to fix the game and do a lot of different things. So I don't know how much stock we want to put into that, but man, if that is the number, if the number's anywhere near that, this is the biggest loss in gaming history.
Yeah, that's just what makes the story of Concord so interesting, is that we've never seen a bomb like this to this level where theoretically $400 were put into it and not a single dime was returned because everybody got a full refund. Maybe the physical copies they probably still
laundering.
Yeah.
But I think even the physical copies they allowed people to do returns.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't agree with the idea that an online only game has a physical edition because what use is that disc once the servers are gone?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
But that it was from Sacred Symbols. That's where this news bomb came from. So they're like a PlayStation podcast. He says he has an internal source that told him that there's an additional $200 million that. He also said that the development parts, like management, wanted this game to be like their next Star Wars. Like PlayStation really believed in this product or wanted to, because there's also this whole toxic positivity that was allegedly in the development process where you couldn't criticize this game at all. And this is a game that needed constructive feedback. You know, I think the biggest thing was the character design, right? Everybody talks about how ugly the characters are. And nobody in that room was probably allowed to say, hey, I don't think people want to play as a character that looks like this.
Yeah,
Or
we want baddies only, dude.
they want, that I don't think a character has to be attractive, but they have to be aesthetically pleasing to play as. And that's my thing. And also, you're not doing yourself any favors if you don't let somebody say you could improve on this or this could be better.
You have to be open to critical feedback.
Yes. And you're just shooting yourself in the foot when you don't allow feedback like that. It's not, this game sucks, this is horrible, woke, blah, blah, blah. It's,
Let's make this game better.
I like this, but this could be better. That's criticism, that's constructive. You can use it to improve it. We've done this with our internal playtesting of Eternal Strands, right? We got to talk about the things we liked. We talked about the things we didn't like, and they listened to us. So that's what I think Concord probably didn't do. Did they have game testers? Did they have external people come in and say what their thoughts were?
Yeah. And
especially for $200 million, you want to make sure people want to play this game.
Yeah. So, again, a rumor. We don't know how substantiated it is, but
it's a gift that keeps on giving.
If it's anywhere near that, this will probably be the last time we ever talk about this game, unless they bring it back or something. But for now, this will probably be the end of it. So, very excited for State of Play. I will be our boots on the ground this week at Salt Lake Fan X, which is very, very exciting. Going to get to meet some of our previous guests on the show, so stay tuned to our socials to be able to go ahead and see some of this.
Oh yeah, speaking of previous guests, Scott Joseph was in Space Marine 2. He has a very, he gets to play as a named Space Marine, so
that's dope.
Yep, he's only in there for like one chapter, but he makes an impact in the story, I think.
Hell yeah.
Also, I think G could probably do a very good Captain Akron cosplay.
I have no idea who that is.
Eric should.
Send me a picture afterwards.
I will post a picture in the Discord.
Okay. All right. And with that, I think that's a perfect place for us to go ahead and cap this off. We appreciate everybody for the wait. We appreciate everybody who tunes in. We will catch you guys next time. Have a great one.
See you later.